Hey, good evening, everybody. We're going to call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Gainesville City Commission, April 19th, 2021, the last in our series of listening and workshop sessions uh, surrounding youth services. So with that, we need a motion to adopt our agenda. Is it a motion by Commissioner Ariola, seconded by Commissioner Sacco to adopt the agenda? Who do we have with us tonight? Adam? Adam, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. There's nobody on the line right now. The floor is yours.
Very good. We'll move back to the commission for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Sacco?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons, I believe, is absent. Commissioner Ward?
Absent.
Absent. Commissioner Ariola?
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Santos?
Aye.
Mayor Poe?
Aye, that motion passes 5-0 with Ward and Simmons absent. All right, our first and only item for discussion tonight is Listening Youth Workshop with Institutional Partners, Session 2. So I know the fabulous Thomas Harrington is no longer with us. So Mr. Feldman, was there somebody else who was going to introduce this?
So I will just introduce it by saying that when these youth workshops were designed, the purpose of this one was sort of to have the commission reconvene after you had a chance to listen at the other 4 workshops which you had, and sort of try to bring it all together and discuss a path forward. I know when we established this with through Commissioner Ariola, that was the intent, and I would probably defer to him if I misspoke or mischaracterized the purpose of today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Feldman. So let me go over and recognize Commissioner Ariola.
Yeah, I think there was just maybe a Scrivener's error in the setting of the discussion items, but yeah, the purpose was for this to be the summary. We'd already have, happy to hear from our institutional partners again, though, since they're here, but the intent was for this to be a deliberation among the commission rather than a listening session.
And we do have, it looks like a presentation, Youth Service Department's presentation. The last time I checked the backup, I did not see that. I'm not sure who that presentation was submitted by. Mr. Folsom?
How you doing, Mayor?
I'm doing
yes,
great.
Sir. My department has that presentation whenever you guys are ready to hear it, or if you're ready to hear it, on the formulation of a youth services department.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to that, and then we'll open it up for discussion and thoughts.
Okay, excellent. So, good afternoon, commissioners.
Good afternoon.
All right, great. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. All right, so we're going to get ready to have a presentation done by one of our fellows. Her name is Erica Celeste. She's going to be doing a presentation on some research that Commissioner Ward actually asked us to research and look into in terms of the formulation of a youth services department. And he gave us some parameters in which to do that and some areas of where we're already providing some level of youth services and how he wanted us to possibly combine those into a youth services department centered primarily around the discussions that you guys have been having around this topic. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over into the hands of a policy research fellow, Ms. Erica Celeste. Erica, if you could take us away. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, hello, Mayor Poe, City Commissioners, and citizens of Gainesville. My name's Erica Klesse, and I'm a policy research fellow within the City Clerk's office. Today, I'll be presenting youth service department models and steps that the City of Gainesville can take toward establishing a youth services department in Gainesville. So this is a general rundown of today's presentation, and it includes all of what I will discuss. So I'll start by explaining what a youth service department is, discuss what youth services are currently offered in Gainesville, discuss nationwide examples of youth service departments, specifically their structure, but also noting what youth services these initiatives offer, and explain what potential risks and benefits there are. So Morgan, if you could go to the next. Oh, that's the right side, never mind. So a youth services department has the potential to offer and manage opportunities for youth to develop their physical, social, emotional, and cognitive abilities. Moreover, a youth services department can help youth experience achievement, leadership, enjoyment, friendship, and recognition. Gainesville's existing youth service initiatives include the Reichert House, the Brave River Leaders of Distinction, also known as BOLD, and those from the City of Gainesville's Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department, PRCA, and etc. The City of Birmingham, the City of New Haven, the City of Tallahassee, the City of Chicago, New York City, and the U.S. Department of Labor offer insights into how a youth services department could be structured in the City of Gainesville. And additional insights were taken from previously existing youth services and programs offered at the City of Gainesville and in Alachua County. And these, of course, as I previously mentioned, include the Gainesville Police Department's Reichert House and BOLD programs, and the City of Gainesville's Park, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department youth programs and camps, and also the Youth and Community Resource Unit, YCRU, within the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. So if you could go to the next slide. Thank you, Morgan. So the Reichert House is an after-school program designed for young men who need assistance in making the transition from adolescence to adulthood. The Reichert House has middle school and high school sections and offers a combination of discipline, work, and social and recreational activities which foster a balanced environment for those enrolled. So on the other hand, we also have the BOLD program, and this began in 2010 to aid young men between the ages of 16 to 24 who need professional guidance in addressing their life situations and circumstances. The BOLD program offers community resources and services for the intervention and or prevention of criminal activity and incarceration. BOLD members can also participate in community service projects and neighborhood events, which afford them opportunities to enhance the world around them, gain employability skills, and develop an awareness and practice work ethics. So on another note, we also have the Alachua County Sheriff's Office Youth and Community Resource Unit, the YCRU, which is dedicated to serving its youth on multiple levels through education, outreach, and innovative programs. The YCRU has a community policing outreach, which allows for greater non-confrontational contacts between our deputies and citizens. And then the City of Gainesville ourselves has a Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department, which is dedicated to providing services to youth like camps and team summer programs meant to enrich the lives of youth. The Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Department began in 1960 as the City of Gainesville's Recreation Department. Right. So looking at nationwide examples, there's the City of Birmingham in Alabama. They have a mayor's office division of youth services, which currently serves youth in Birmingham's 99 neighborhoods, 23 communities, and 9 city council districts. For people who staff the program, DYS has 27 professionally qualified full-time youth workers and 11 FTA youth support workers. For Birmingham's budget, they spent $1,338,208 on the program in 2020. And then the department is housed within the City of Birmingham's mayor's office. So looking at another example, there's the City of New Haven and their Youth Services Department, also YSD, and they seek to ensure that all New Haven youth are aware of and have access to positive opportunities to meet their basic needs to be safe, cared for, valued, and independent, and to build skills and competencies that will allow them to thrive and contribute to society. Programs and initiatives that the YSD offers include learning hubs, seasonal camps. This is much like our recreational department within the city. Sports and recreation, a youth services bureau, Youth Connect, Youth Violence Prevention Initiative, and Youth at Work. And for people staffing the New Haven Youth Service Department, there's 13 people on their senior management list who staff. And then for their budget, they received $802,216 in state grant money in 2018 to fund their youth programs for the 2018 to 2019 fiscal year. The department has their own individual department within the city. All right, so looking at bigger city examples, which the City of Gainesville could also pull from, include the City of Chicago, and they have a youth services division offered through their Department of Family and Support Services, also known as DFSS, which serve youth aged 6 to 24 throughout the Chicago Youth Service Core Portfolio, Enrichment Activities Portfolio, One Summer Chicago Portfolio, and the Prevention and Intervention Portfolio. So they have multiple initiatives within their department. For people staffing the program, they have 14 listed, but I'm sure there's plenty more. These are just on their senior management list alone. Their budget, they invested $53.7 million in their youth services division in 2019. And the department is housed within their Department of Family and Support Services, and they have their own division within that department. Looking at New York City, they have youth services through their Department of Youth and Community Development, the DYCD, which include after-school programs, job and internship opportunities, cornerstone programs, and beacon programs. For people staffing the program in New York City, they have 30 people listed on their senior management list. Now, this is what I could find listed. I'm sure there are plenty more. And their budget is $247.3 million. And the department is housed within their Department of Youth and Community Development. And of course, youth services like Chicago, they have their own division in New York City. Okay, and the last example is from the United States Department of Labor. They have a youth services division responsible for coordinating all youth-related workforce programs, which include the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, Youth Formula, Youth Build, and Reentry Employment Opportunities. These programs serve young adults aged 16 to 24 that face a variety of barriers to employment and provide leadership to workforce system and grantees, policy direction and guidance, support from program administration, and technical assistance. And for their budget, they received approximately $89 million in annual funding in 2018 for their Youth Build program. They have multiple initiatives, and this is just an example of one of them. And then they also have their own division within the U.S. Department of Labor. Okay, looking at the risk and benefits analysis. So there's a few risks and there's a few benefits. A few of those risks include that implementing a consolidated youth service department in Gainesville would be that moving existing youth programs, initiatives like the BOLD program, out of their current departments and into one centralized youth service department in Gainesville may require additional funding or reallocation of resources. Obviously, these initiatives have their own parts in the city, so having to move everything over to one department, that would require additional funding. Second, a newly established youth services department may require office space, staffing reassignment, and or new hires. I'm sure looking at pulling these existing initiatives into one department, obviously there would be staff existing for these programs already that would be willing to make the move over. All right, so a few benefits of implementing a youth service department include that they may allow the city to tell its story concerning the opportunities that the city provides. They also, youth service department may allow for the addition of new programming. It may increase participation in city youth programs. Given that all these initiatives are put together, I would be sure that youth would be able to evaluate each of these initiatives so they'd be better, it'd increase the participation. And then fourth, it may allow for better continuity between programs. It may allow for a more equitable alignment of resources for programming, and it may allow for additional staff to cultivate programs and community partnerships. And then, of course, one final note is that the city will need to decide whether they want the consolidated youth department to be for all youth programming or specifically for rehabilitation or delinquent youth programming. Obviously, initiatives like the BOLD program, these reach troubled youth, and there's other initiatives in Gainesville that reach just regular youth. So I'm sure that a consolidated department would, obviously we would try to reach both kinds of youth with this department. All right, and lastly, please share any thoughts or questions you guys might have so that we can establish a better consolidated youth service department in Gainesville. Thank you.
All right,
Erica, thank you for that. Mayor, I would like to add to that a couple of things. One of which is the research was given as a guide so that you could see other offerings that other cities have. The cities, as you can see, are varying different in sizes. The point for that was to make sure that you could see the type of commitment that other cities have made relative to their size, of course, to this type of department or program. One of the central things we would like for you to take away from the research, though, is that should you decide to move in this particular area, that you definitely research the other communities out there that may have these type of programs. And in particular, look at holistically, what do you want to reach in terms of the youth? Are we trying to do something holistic that's going to reach all different types of youth? Or are we going to try to combine, whether it be Wright House or BOLD, into this one youth services department, and how we would go about structuring that?
Okay, thank you, Erica Zarai. I appreciate the presentation and the recommendations. Turn back to the commission now. Commissioner Sacco.
Mayor, thank you both. That was a really informative presentation and I think, very clear in its presentation, so I appreciate that. I do have one question. On the list of youth services departments that'll be presented, it also includes the city of Tallahassee, but we didn't cover it. Is that like a leftover typo, or did we have some other research that just didn't make it? Because I would think that Tallahassee is closer in composition to Gainesville than the other cities presented.
I would agree. And Tallahassee's program is within a department, so it's not its own department. It's funded like it's its own department, but it's not its own department. Erica, can you speak more to that?
Yes, so I did look at the city of Tallahassee as an example as well, given that they are our neighbors. And they do have a program called Tempo, which is very good as well. It reaches youth, exactly what we're trying to look for in our project. But it is not within its own department. And I know I did mention previous examples like the city of New York and the city of Chicago. I think they're big enough to stand alone as their own department. That's why I included them as well.
Okay. So just Tallahassee offers this kind of service coordination, but it's just not its own standalone office.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to clarify really quickly, we did talk about Tallahassee in the report, but preemptively decided to remove it from the presentation and just left that line in the presentation and missed it. So that's why we mentioned it, but then didn't cover it explicitly in the presentation.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think fairly clearly, Gainesville has more in common with metropolitan communities like New York City and Chicago than with Tallahassee. They're small potatoes. So thank you very much, Mr. Folston, Ms. Klesi, for the presentation and for the work that I know went into this. I appreciate the effort on your part. I am interested in creating, if not a department, an office, some central location for programs like BOLD and Reichert specifically that isn't within GPD. They're not police programs. They're fantastic programs. They're amazing. They're national models, I think, but I don't think they're police programs. I would hope that there's no reason that officers at GPD couldn't continue to work with, as volunteers, those programs if they were not headquartered in GPD, because it is important that they continue to have access to those programs, because that's where the volunteers are. But I think those programs have more in common with other youth programs than they do with other programs and services of our police department. So I'm very interested in creating this. However, whatever we call it or wherever it lives is not particularly important to me. That it does live, that it does exist is kind of important to me. If we're going to expand our youth services, then the services that we offer to youth ought to all live in the same place and not be spread across 4 or 5 different departments. I'm going to make an analogy, but I want to be clear that I'm not comparing the youth of our community to garbage cans. But we learned at the Zero Waste Subcommittee a few weeks ago that there are at least 4 different city departments with responsibility for garbage cans. I don't want us to end up in a situation where youth services is spread across multiple departments and without cohesiveness. I would like us to be able to collect our youth services in one place for training purposes, for accountability purposes, for liability purposes. I think that allows us to expand opportunity and reduce risk by creating this department and moving our various youth services into that one department. Thank you again for the research, and I look forward to the conversation.
All right, thank you. And I want to get to our guests here, but we'll go through these lights first. Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I looked at the research beforehand. I'm in agreement with Commissioner Ward. I would like to share my screen. I have what I hope is a palatable idea as to what you were suggesting, Commissioner. I'm going to hit the share screen button. And that should work. Okay. I have that about 150% zoom. If anybody needs me to increase it, I can do that. But this is an update from the presentation I gave on August 27th. After hearing all of the discussion, I agree. I believe we need a central location for child and youth development. I do suggest calling it the Office of Child and Youth Development because I think that there is a distinction between children and youth and in the services that are provided. And I would like for us to include that in this year's fiscal budget, but before the final adoption, that a memo come back to the commission that sort of outlines some of the things that you were mentioning, Commissioner, because I think what we have to accept here is that we do have to create something that works for Gainesville. I think what works for Tallahassee works for Tallahassee, what works for New York City works for New York City, and certainly what works for the Department of Labor works for them. But we need something unique to Gainesville. And there's, in my mind, two challenges, which is the point of the second point of this motion. The first challenge is, how do we organize our own youth services as they currently exist and put them into a nice oversight where they can receive the full attention of that office and obviously still work in concert with the other community builders that help to bring those, because that's another thing we noticed from our workshops. A lot of people who already work for Gainesville are putting a lot of sweat and work into these programs, and we need that to continue. But I also think that it would be ultimately better served if they were in one place. But I don't want to dictate what that might be from the dais. So that would be included in the memo as it comes back. I think the second challenge that we took away from these workshops is that through the Youth Summit, through the creation of the Boost Alliance, through the creation of the Children's Trust, this community is on its pathway to creating a children and youth-centered system that is constantly looking at ways that it can fill in gaps and looking at ways to collaborate across institutions and across services. I think that once we create that central place in our government, we can have a central place where we can join that youth-centered system, not as disparate programs and services in different departments, but as one effort that receives the full support from the commission and from the city manager's office. I do believe that would be the appropriate place for it. Of course, as I mentioned in the last point, the tasks assigned and created, as deemed fit by the charter office, the city manager. And I just created that guidance because I think that this is the step that we're at. I've been on the commission for a few years now. We've talked about child and youth services many times in workshops, in summits, and all these things. And we have great conversations. We get great presentations. We get great data. We get really great speakers. But I think that we have to create a space within our government where those conversations happen permanently instead of just in front of the board of elected officials. So this motion is open to friendly amendments, as all my motions are. So I'd like to move this motion language.
Okay, sir. Is that you? Commissioner Ariola made the motion and Commissioner Ward seconded the motion. Commissioner Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. I have just a question for the research team. What kind of programs does the county have for youth? I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, there's nobody speaking.
No,
I think.
Okay.
Erica, are you still on?
Yes, Commissioner Johnson, could you repeat that question for me?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. My question is, what kind of programs does the county have for youth? Is there a youth services department there?
So the one example I mentioned was the Alachua County Sheriff's Office. They have their Youth and Community Resource Unit.
Okay.
But the county does not have one.
The
No.
county does not. That was my question. Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner A. Santos?
Thank you, Mayor. It's an interesting idea of putting everything together. I have some concerns over the efforts of centralizing it and what silo effects that may cause. I mean, I think our youth should be a part of everything, and when it's kind of siloed in, then it may separate some aspects from different portions of the city. The Bold and the Reichert House I think those are very similar, but I guess it depends on what this youth and development program, like Little League Baseball is very different from Bold and Reichert House in terms of what is youth services that are being offered. And then like Little League Baseball takes probably a similar workforce as someone who's doing like softball, adult softball league and things like that. So where do we lose inefficiencies there? I also think we're in a tight budget year this year, and I don't know if we have the budget available to create a whole new department and everything that comes with that, and also the labor resources of being able to do that. So right now I'm currently not supportive of us moving forward on this. I think we need to look at it some more and what is the exact problem we are trying to fix, and how is this actually going to fix it? Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
So before we go around the horn again, there's probably some version of this motion I could support. The first thing that I would want to do is lop off everything after, in the second part, to support and develop all children and youth-centered systems in Gainesville, period. I think in a motion, we don't start naming specific groups or agencies, because those would be developed through an MOU. So that's like not the policy; those are more tactical decisions. I do want to have a deeper discussion about this, and I think between now and when we start making budget decisions, is an opportunity to do that. I mean, my first pass is that I agree that programs like Reichert and Bold should be decoupled from the police department. And I think in doing that, we could also create some new synergies with programs like Youth Build or the YMCA or non-city entities that could add value. But I just need to learn more. Like I guess what I would need next is for our staff to give us a sort of back of the napkin look at like what would this look like. I think there's a possibility this could be done within existing resources and sort of realigning some of our talent to serve this new function. So basically, I'm going to support the motion as it was just manipulated on the document, because to me that gets me more information and allows me to make a better decision. But I'm not all in yet. It's really, I'm still just interested in the sort of exploratory phase. Now, I do think like if we get something like this set up now, it positions us better for when, say, Bidwell gets here or other things can be more appropriately aligned with an office that specifically deals with children and youth programs. I think it can align better with some things the school board is doing and would like to do that they're not currently. So I see all the potential in there. I just have to, it's the logistics side that I'm not sure about yet, but am happy to explore more. Okay, so back to you, Commissioner Ariola. And Commissioner Johnson, I see your hand there. There's a couple people before you. Go ahead, Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I was, if the seconder is okay, I just cut it. Yeah. So thank you for the feedback. I'm in complete agreement, really, And that a memo is a sort of a formal request. They can include the napkin math or whatever it is in that. Because I think you're right. I think we have a lot of pre-existing talent and resources that would really shoulder a lot. I think we're really well positioned to do this. Of course, the question becomes what additional resources, where do we want to begin with? And I do agree with you. We need more information to do that. But I want to make sure that the direction is clear that we want to go as a commission, at least seriously consider it. Obviously, all votes, are final at the time that we adopt the budget. And I want there to be ample for those of you who are, still trying to figure out whether you support this in totality. By the time we get there, we'll have this information in front of us, is my expectation. And so I want that to be there. And I do think that, I do think we have the pre-existing resources to get there. I also wanted to address the question that Gail brought up, which is about the county. They've got the Children's Trust. I did speak with Colin over at the Children's Trust to talk about this. He had some interesting ideas because he's from Duval County, and they had something a little bit different that I think would be great here in Alachua, but that's a separate idea. But I think that for the county to bring them along with their own department, that's a whole nother conversation. And I believe we can bring them along. I would like for us to begin with this effort. They do have the Children's Trust. For us, having a centralized point of contact for the Children's Trust could also be very useful. So that's my feedback. I appreciate the comments, and Commissioner Santos, it's a tight budget year every year, so I hope that this can find some consideration from your part once we see some of those figures and some of those organizational alignments come in. So don't have a totally made up mind yet. I would ask that of you as we get closer to there. And thank you, commissioners, for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Saka.
So there may be a second wet blanket about this. I'm concerned about the fiscal ramifications of this. As Commissioner Santos says, we do have a very tight budget. We had, I would call it a difficult conversation about our GFT and what we're going to do to have sufficient assets for I guess, essential services. Not to say that this is not a good idea. I like the aspirational goal behind it, but I'm worried about the end cost. And while I think we could rearrange some talent and reassign some people to then not have completely new hires on board, I wonder about how many people that would be. So I don't feel comfortable creating an entire department or office from scratch for, I guess, without testing out the waters with something like a coordinator who can go and put together resources and collaborate with other community partners. That is something I could see myself supporting, where it is a single coordinator doing it. But just looking at Birmingham's budget for their office, it comes to over $1 million every year. That's a lot of money to spend exclusively on someone who, if basing it on the now separated piece where it's partnering and communicating and kind of playing a support service to amplify what's already being done in the community and by the city services, I don't think we need an entire department to I guess, to be the point of contact and the point of research. I don't see the need for an entire office of people with multiple hires to do what should, at the end of the day, be a collaboration or kind of bridge position between our departments and services and what other partners are doing. I also think that it would be difficult to create I understand these will be simultaneous, but I think it would be difficult to create a budget before our charters have all gotten together to come up with a policy. So we don't know how long it would take for all of them to come up with a framework for this policy. I just, as it stands right now, I can't in good conscience support it, knowing the very difficult budget discussion we've had and what it aspires to do. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I believe this can be created for minimal budget impact, because we're not talking about adding new, right now, we're not talking about adding new youth services. We're talking about putting the youth services that exist into a place that makes sense. Regarding how it works with existing facilities, existing programs, there's a huge difference between youth baseball and grown-up baseball. There's a massive risk that comes with managing children and programming for children and youth that we are whistling past right now as an organization. We have taken on significant risks with each of our youth programs without taking on the training and the management that should come with managing youth services. They're just out there right now. They're not, in my opinion, managed in a way that makes sense. They all grew up organically in places that you wouldn't expect them to. And they did because there was passion within an office to grow something like Reichert House, for example. That's all a product of basically one person's passion. That isn't sustainable in a police department when that one person isn't there anymore, or when 2 or 3 of those folks are not there anymore. We have to be honest and forthright with ourselves about that. If we don't plan for that, then we are planning for failure with those programs. They will grow if we put them in a place where they can grow. There will be questions about their accountability forever if we don't put them in a place where they can be more accountable. They don't belong in a police department. They're there because of someone's passion. You have to, moving beyond Bold and Reichert, you've got to, there are similarities between youth programs that are not the same, again, between youth and grown-up programs. They're just not the same thing, and we've got to treat them differently, and we can't expect somebody to be a professional at every level of adult programming and youth programming and children's programming. We're asking too much of people to do that. I will tell you right now, I have had people who work in the BOLD program tell me that they have tried to recruit young people into the BOLD program who wouldn't do it because they were scared of the badge. We're missing children in our community because we're not communicating it the way that we best could. You all know that there are officers at GPD who wonder why we have a youth program inside the police department. There's a way to do this better that gets us where we need to be and checks all the boxes and helps the children in our community and youth in our community succeed without spending a whole lot more money. It's a question of realignment. And yeah, there will be 1 or 2 new positions that need to be added. It's not gonna add $1 million to the budget. I don't see how we could do that. I mean, I could certainly come up with $1 million worth of youth programs, but that's not what we're looking for here. We're looking at realigning in a management system that makes sense, and a risk management program that makes sense. Right now, we are exposing ourselves to risk that we do not have to expose ourselves to. That could end up costing us a lot more money than whatever it costs us to run a new office. we're not in this motion asking for it to be funded. We're asking for a plan for funding. Okay, you're right. An organizational memo is what I'm most interested in. We need to know what it's going to cost to do this. I'd be willing to take out it's not my motion, but I would be willing to vote for something that did not directly included in the budget. But I want it to be in the budget. I'll be real clear with you now. I want it to be in the budget. If we can't do that today, then I'm comfortable with something a little less. But I want to see a framework come back. And there is time. There's absolutely time. We kick this forward another year, there is inherent risk in that. And I'm not comfortable with that risk. I haven't been comfortable with it for a while. Now I see a plan for how we do it better. And I want to take advantage of that plan. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate this discussion. I'm most interested in what it would look like if we realign some of the services that we do have for youth in our in the city right now. So that's one of the first things that I'd like to see is, you know, where the different pieces of the puzzle could fit in a new youth service department. Two, I would like to understand what percentage of the budget of the cities that were mentioned are spent on youth services rather than the dollar amount come back to us. And I would also love to see, I'd also like an understanding of what the pros and the cons would be for not having Bold and Rikert House sit in the police department. And I think that we should have a pretty honest discussion about that. And I think Harvey alluded to some of, you know, the beginnings of what that conversation would look like. But I'm definitely interested in continuing the conversation, and I do support most of the motion. I think I need to read it again, but I certainly want to continue this conversation before budget season. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Let me just read it real quick for you before we go back to a couple more commissioners. And I do want to remind everybody that we do have a bunch of guests on with us today as well. The motion reads currently, direct city manager's charter office to include in the FY 21-22 budget the creation of an office for child and youth development, bring back organizational memo before final budget adoption to include positional roles, duties, and responsibilities. Part 2, direct the city manager's charter office to work with other charter officers to create a draft framework of a child and youth development policy to support and develop all children and youth-centered systems in Gainesville. Commissioner A. Santos.
Thank you, Mayor. In terms of Bold and Rikert House, I mean, I do think that probably should see some realignment. On Rikert House, I have some policy research coming back on that and how we can actually maybe get more funding from that in terms of how we do that, and it probably would take moving out of GPD. My biggest issue is in this motion we are funding something we have no idea what the size, what it looks like, and asking for it to be put in the budget. Is this $1 million increment or is this a $100,000 increment? And that's where my concern in the motion is. Voting for something that I have no idea what the size of it will be is not something I'm okay with doing. But the rest of it I'd be okay if that was removed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Ariola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I hear my colleagues' concerns loud and clear. So I just want to try and address them because I don't think that it's today's vote which is going to ultimately decide the fate of this. I think this is a step vote in the direction of where I'm trying to lead us. First, when I joined the commission in 2017, we had just concluded the Youth Summit. One of the suggestions from there, while the Children's Trust was being formed, was for there to be a joint funding position in the United Way that would act as a coordinator for services, and that was a really good idea. It did not remain permanent though, and I think that as we've seen, when we go into policy directions expecting one person to do the job of an entire department, we don't set them up immediately well. and I think we need to start doing that. I do think we have the existing talent for us to do that here. And so, to the point about the budget, we already have youth services and programs into the budget. To Commissioner Johnson's point, we should see what that figure is, because that would ultimately be what this office would oversee, a large portion of it, except that which would need to be separated by any number of ordinances for procurement, of which I'm not privy to immediately. But the reason why I didn't put a figure as to what the budget will be is because I want to give our management the opportunity to work with his staff to figure that out, because I hate putting the cart before the horse. And if I were to say 150 or 250, or to the extreme point of $1 million, it would be difficult for me to defend that without having those figures in front of you all. So that is why I didn't put that there. So I'm, you all can vote however you wish at the end of the budget. If we get to the end of this, if this motion passes and we get to the end and you still are, your concerns have not been met, then that's why we have budget adoption meetings and special meetings for those items. But what I'm asking is for us to at least get the information in front of us. Let's look at the idea very, very clear eyes, and we'll get a final figure at that point. So that's my ask. I hope you'll keep an open mind for it. I think it's the first step, and as was said by Commissioner Ward, and as was keenly made aware to me at our last meeting with the Sani Dai, time is of the essence. And so I believe that if I were to remove the part about creating it this year, as the Commissioner of District 3, I run the risk of not being able to be here to see this through to the end, which I very much do. And so it is a bit personal in that regard. But ultimately, it's got nothing to do with anything except trying to make this government work better for children and youth in this community. That's the point. That's what we're trying to get to. I'm offering my voice and trying to push this forward. I'm really glad Commissioner Ward had a similar idea. And so I'm just trying to see if we can't get this to the next stage, commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess we'll get to you in one moment. Commissioner A. Santos.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, I'm not saying it shouldn't be in this year's budget. I'm saying if we asked for it to come a budget increment, what would it cost versus what the motion says today is to put it in the budget versus asking for it to come back is what would it cost for it to do, which I would support. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, if the screen share could please come down and let me see if any, that's you, screen share. And see if any of our guests today would like to speak, perhaps on this specific topic, but you're all invited back as your institutional partners, which sounds so aseptic. You're much more important to us than the title would indicate. But if there's anything else that you would like to share with us as this capstone meeting on children and youth services that you weren't able to share with us at our previous meetings. So just use that raise hand function. If you go to reactions, you should be able to do raise hand, or you can go to the participants pane and raise your hand there as well. And we'll just get to you in order. Or you can hang out and listen and be available for questions. Okay, who do I have here? Dr. Bowie, welcome.
Yes. How are you doing? How's everyone doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My name is Michael Bowie, and I'm with the University of Florida's Center for Pre-Collegiate Education and Training. And the Center for Pre-Collegiate Education and Training is one of the centers on campus where we provide a lot of activities for students and teachers, especially focusing on the area of STEM, but also it houses the College Reach Out program. And so I don't know if many of you are familiar with the College Reach Out program, but it is a program that is a state grant where we work with kids in middle and high school. We provide them with educational material that will lead to them entering into a post-secondary education. So one, you have to be economically and academically disadvantaged in order to be a part of that program. There's criteria that has been established by the state for that particular program, but we service students, approximately 120 to 180 students throughout Alachua County. And we provide them with services, academic services throughout the year and summer programs in the summertime. In addition to that, the Center for Pre-Collegiate Education and Training provide a number of programs throughout the summer. We have about 9 programs going on, including Gator Vet Camp, a number of types of activities where we bring students on campus in a normal setting. Again, COVID-19 has changed a number of things, but we would bring them on campus from anywhere from 1 week to about 8 weeks. And they have an opportunity to be exposed to STEM education. A lot of what we do in my role as the Director for Community Engagement and Diversity Outreach, K through 12 for the Center for Pre-Collegiate Education and Training, is also focusing on equity-minded education, STEM education. So ensuring that the education that's being provided is equity-minded. So understand that we want to meet students where they are and make sure that they are engaged and that the education that we provide is interactive. And that we're looking at things to do and develop throughout the school year itself. And so the center is, if you go to cpet.ufl.edu, then you can go to the many activities that the center provides. A lot of those activities have a cost associated with it, but then it is my role and responsibility to assist in ensuring that students who may not be able to afford that or a number of programs even across the university's campus that are bridge type programs, if there's any problems with that, then students can reach out to me, and then what I will do is see what I can do to assist students with participating in those programs on the campus through either the Center for Pre-Collegiate Education and Training or for any of the other activities that are occurring at the University of Florida.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Bowie. And I gotta say, you have the most awesome UF background I've seen about everything. It's one of a kind, and it's really cool. And I'm going to see how I can get one. But yeah, thank you for that. That is. I knew a little bit about your program, but that is a level of detail that I was not familiar with, and a real asset to our community. Okay, I don't see any other hands at this point, so Alan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I understand this is really a discussion about structure and how that would be fit in organizationally. I guess what I was thinking of, if there was a cost, one, where would the Alachua Trust partially be a funding source? But also, are we looking at a cost benefit if we have children and youth that are not served who could be diverted down the wrong path, and what those costs would be to determine how well these dollars, if they are allocated, because we know how precious they are, especially with COVID budget implications, how that will fit into moving forward with making a decision.
Yeah, great point, Alan. The avoided cost is always important to bring back and center on these types of conversations. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. So we do have a motion on the floor. Commissioner, you want to throw that back up, and we will solicit public comment. Let's take anybody here in the chamber first, and then after Adam, we have one neighbor here in the chamber, and then after that, I'll turn it over to you. Mr. Blount, welcome.
Hello. I quite agree with the idea that some things have been kind of stuffed into the police department over the years that that might not be the appropriate place. Reichert House was started by Richard Baxter out of Corner Drugstore. And then he asked his, on a personal level, asked his good buddy, Officer Tony Jones, to help out. But I remember those days. I used to go there twice a week to share African history. So before you cut that language from part one in this motion, part two, you had a list of organizations. I noticed that those all look like very formal organizations. I wonder about activities that may not be incorporated and have a board of directors and a 501c3 and certified by this or that. I.e., for example, myself, I try to go teach African history every opportunity I get, and do it for free, but would love to have support sometime to maybe buy a case of books, for example, Africa, Mother of Western Civilization. So to get materials to make that sharing that much more powerful. And I've seen the benefit that that has had for young people. There's this sense of self-worth skyrockets and their grades with it. And so I wonder if you are anticipating dealing with less than formalized activities with support that you might do through this idea.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Okay, Adam, anybody on the phones?
Mr. Mayor, there is nobody on the lines at this time. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. We'll turn back to the commission. Commissioner Sacco.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 2 questions. One, can we split the motion?
Say again?
Can we split it?
Sure.
Okay. And second, I agree with Commissioner Hayes Santos. I would be fine, asking staff for a memo on what it would cost and what it would look like, but I don't feel comfortable saying put an unknown blank check number on our budget as a placeholder. So if the maker of the motion feels comfortable removing that part, but still going forward with the memo to see what the cost would be, I can vote for it, but I might not be able to support the first part of that motion as it stands. Thank you.
Thanks. And I'm just telling you, the way I'm interpreting it is exactly what you said. I mean, the staff's going to put together some numbers. They're going to do some research. It's not in the budget till we approve the budget. So, I mean, we're going to get that information ahead of time. And then at that point, we'll decide whether that makes it through our initial deliberations or not. So that does not make me uneasy. I feel like if something comes back that I'm not comfortable with, there's ample time to, pull it back or adjust it before it gets memorialized in our next year's budget, which ultimately will be in September, voted on in September. So y'all got to vote your conscience, but I'm satisfied that there's plenty of opportunities here to still kind of critically assess whether this is exactly what we want to do at this time. So with that, let's go ahead and move to a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Simmons is absent. Commissioner Sacco?
This is just for part 1?
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner, sorry, that was a pay cut, Ms. Gainey. We're going to split the motion, Ms. Gainey, and so this first vote will be for part 1 that we see on our screens here. And yes, Commissioner Simmons is absent. You are correct.
No?
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Sacco? Excuse me, Hayes Santos. Trying to give you a new name there.
Say again.
No.
Commissioner Ariola?
Aye.
And Mayor Poe?
Aye, that motion passes 4-2 with Commissioner Sacco and Hayes Santos in dissent. Second vote will be for number 2 as we see on our screen.
Commissioner Simmons is absent. Commissioner Sacco?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Commissioner Hayes Santos?
Aye.
Commissioner Ariola?
Aye.
And Mayor Poe?
Aye, that motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Simmons absent. All right, thank you for everybody that put so much work into this. I'm excited about the next phase of the discussion and would be really pleased if we could sort of decouple some of those programs from GPD by this next fiscal year. I think that would be a great help both to GPD and the services provided. Do we have any member comment? Commissioner Ariola?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Perhaps this is too late in the game to bring this up, but I was looking at our calendar next week, and every day we have PM meetings.
Yep.
And look, if we got to show up, we were here till 11:30 the other night, and we were there with the advisory board with CRA until 10:30. It's part of the job. I'm okay with that. But is it possible that some of those meetings can be rescheduled? I know we can't reschedule MTPO. We can't reschedule GPC, I believe it is. Yeah, so we got strategic planning on Friday, which is not by ordinance, although I'm sure.
We have a lot, we have a
Yeah.
tremendous amount of folks that are
Yeah,
been done a lot
I
of planning
figured.
for that.
Okay, so I guess that only leaves the Tuesday joint UAB meeting, which we can move, and the St. Michael's property on the 28th, which I think we've already delayed because we scheduled the special meeting. So
It's just going to be a hard week. So, I mean,
I was worried you'd say that.
it's just going to be a hard week. We canceled our last UAB meeting, so it's been a while since we met with them. And there are 2 items on that agenda that the UAB is very determined to have a discussion with us about.
Okay.
So it's just going to be a hard week, and I hate to say it, but the week after that's going to be a tough week too. Things are catching up with us. So.
All right. Well, happy to. Just thought I'd bring it up because
You were not the first to notice to peek ahead. Sometimes it's best to not look too far ahead in your calendar. The thing that I would just ask you is probably a horrible. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson. I saw you there, and then I forgot. I see you again. Go ahead.
That's okay. Really quickly, I want to know if, just without objection, we can, part of the information that's going to come back to us can be the pros and the cons, and also the percentage of the budget that the other cities are spending and not the dollar amount.
Yeah, without objection.
Okay.
And Commissioner Johnson,
Thank you.
I'll just ask that you sort of make that specific ask, exactly what you're looking for to the city manager.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I would just say that if you don't mind making that specific ask to the city manager, like maybe shoot him an email or something, exactly what specific information, but there's no objection over here.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, again, probably the wrong time to make this request from all of you, but we do have our strategic planning coming up. We really have worked hard to make that in person. It'll be significantly spread out, masks, but this is the kind of thing that works much better face to face, so to speak, than over Zoom. And so I really want to encourage all of you to be there if you feel physically safe to do so. We'll make sure the room's set up to accommodate that. We're hoping for a really good session, and that will hopefully springboard us into our budget deliberations and a good summer. So with that, no further business before us. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson, go ahead.
That's okay. Just really quickly, I'll mention to everybody that in a couple of weeks, I will be fully vaccinated, so I will be back in the chambers starting May 6th.
Yay! Something else is happening May 6th, isn't it? That's just an inside joke. We're glad that you're going to be back on your important day. Okay, so no further business. We are adjourned.